Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. She was called the Iron Lady. Loved by some, hated by others, but impossible to ignore. Margaret Thatcher reshaped Britain, fought fierce battles at home and abroad, and left a legacy still debated today. So, who was Margaret Thatcher? How did she rise to power? And what did she really change? Let's find out. Margaret Hilda Roberts was born on October 13, 1925, in the quiet town of Grantham, England. Her family didn't have great wealth or fancy titles. Instead, they had discipline, faith, and a strong sense of community. Her father, Alfred Roberts, ran a small grocery shop that served local families. He also served as a local councillor and mayor, teaching Margaret the importance of responsibility and public service from an early age. Growing up, Margaret spent many evenings helping out in the family shop, stacking shelves, serving customers, and watching her father balance the books late into the night. These moments shaped her understanding of hard work and thrift. She often said that the lessons she learned behind the shop counter stayed with her throughout her life. At school, Margaret was an outstanding student. She loved reading, science, and debating ideas. Her teachers quickly noticed her sharp mind and determination. She was never afraid to speak up or challenge the opinions of others. Her ambition was clear, even as a teenager. Thanks to her hard work, Margaret won a scholarship to Somerville College at Oxford University. An incredible achievement at a time when few women attended university, especially in a field like chemistry. At Oxford, she stood out not just for her studies, but for her passion for politics. She became active in the Oxford University Conservative Association and made her mark as a fierce debater, unafraid to argue her point and defend her beliefs. After graduating, Margaret worked briefly as a research chemist, but her mind was always on politics. She wanted to do more than study problems in a lab. She wanted to shape the country's future. She believed that strong leadership and clear principles could make Britain better. In 1951, Margaret married Denis Thatcher, a successful businessman. Denis was wealthy, practical, and supportive. He knew his wife had big dreams and never stood in her way. He gave her the financial security and the encouragement she needed to pursue her political career without worrying about making ends meet. Together, they built a strong partnership. While Denis preferred to stay out of the spotlight, he was always there to listen, offer advice, and stand by Margaret through the many challenges that lay ahead. With her sharp mind, clear voice, and fearless determination, Margaret Thatcher was ready to step into the rough world of British politics, a world where few women had ever made it to the top. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to fight for what she believed in. These early years, the grocery shop in Grantham, the scholarship to Oxford, and her first steps in politics, laid the foundations for the woman who would one day be called the Iron Lady. They showed the world that leadership can come from the humblest beginnings, if you have the courage and discipline to dream big and work hard every single day. Margaret Thatcher was elected as a Member of Parliament in 1959. In a male-dominated parliament, she quickly made her mark. By 1970, she became Secretary of State for Education and Science. Here, she earned the nickname Thatcher the Milk Snatcher for cutting free school milk, a controversial decision that showed her willingness to take tough, unpopular measures. But bigger challenges were ahead. In 1975, Thatcher became the leader of the Conservative Party, the first woman to lead a major UK political party. Britain in the 1970s was in crisis. High inflation, strikes, and an economy in decline. In 1979, the Conservatives won the general election. Margaret Thatcher became Britain's first female Prime Minister. The world had never seen a leader quite like her. Margaret Thatcher was called the Iron Lady. This nickname was first given by the Soviet press because they saw how strongly she stood against communism. She was tough, determined, and never afraid to speak against the Soviet Union. At home in Britain, Margaret Thatcher brought huge changes. She believed that the government should not run businesses. So, she sold many state-owned industries to private owners. This was called privatization. Before her, big companies like gas, electricity, and railways were under government control. She said the free market would make them better. She also reduced the power of trade unions. Earlier, trade unions in Britain were very strong. They could organize big strikes and force the government to accept their demands. Thatcher thought strikes were hurting the economy. So she made strict rules so that unions could not easily call strikes and shut down work. Her supporters say she saved Britain's economy. When she became Prime Minister, Britain was struggling with high inflation, unemployment, and slow growth. She believed that free markets, competition, and private ownership would bring new life to the country. Many people got new jobs, businesses grew, and foreign investors came to Britain. But her critics see it very differently. They say Thatcher's policies made the gap between the rich and poor wider. When state companies were sold, some people made huge profits, but many workers lost their jobs. Without strong unions, workers had less power to ask for better pay and working conditions. Some old industries closed down completely because they could not survive without government help. Margaret Thatcher's style was very uncompromising. She once said, "The lady's not for turning." This meant she never changed her mind under pressure. Even when people protested in the streets and asked her to stop her policies, she refused to back down. She believed that changing her mind was a sign of weakness, and weakness was not in her nature. Because of this tough attitude, people either loved her or hated her. Her supporters call her a hero who brought Britain back to life. Her critics say she brought unemployment and inequality. But no one denies that she changed Britain forever. Even today, when people in Britain talk about selling state companies or cutting government spending, they remember Thatcherism. This word stands for her ideas: free markets, less government, individual responsibility, and standing firm no matter what. Margaret Thatcher's story shows that a leader with a strong will can change a country, but not everyone will be happy with that change. Some will gain, others will lose, but everyone will remember the Iron Lady, the leader who refused to turn back, no matter how loud the protests. In 1982, Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, which were a British territory far away in the South Atlantic Ocean. Many people thought Britain would not fight back because the islands were so far and the war could be costly. But Margaret Thatcher did not step back. She decided to send a large naval task force to take the islands back. British ships, soldiers, and aircraft sailed thousands of miles to reach the Falklands. After weeks of fighting, British forces defeated the Argentine troops and retook the islands. The war ended with a clear British victory. Winning the Falklands War made Thatcher very popular at home. Many people who doubted her leadership before now saw her as a strong and brave leader who would never back down when Britain's interests were at stake. This short war proved to the world that the Iron Lady was ready to fight for her country, no matter how far or how difficult it was. Despite all her successes, Margaret Thatcher's popularity started to fall in the late 1980s. People were unhappy with some of her new policies. One of the biggest reasons was the poll tax, which she introduced to raise local government money. Many people thought it was unfair because everyone had to pay the same amount, rich or poor. This tax led to big protests and riots across the country. Even inside her own party, some leaders started to question her decisions. They felt she was not listening enough and was too stubborn. In 1990, rivals in her own party challenged her leadership. She lost the support of many of her own MPs. Seeing that she could not win, Thatcher decided to resign as Prime Minister. After 11 years in power, she walked out of 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister's home, with tears in her eyes. She was the longest-serving British Prime Minister of the 20th century, but in the end, it was her own party that forced her to step down. Margaret Thatcher remained a powerful and famous figure even after she left office. She wrote her memoirs, gave speeches around the world, and stayed active in politics in her own way. Even then, she continued to divide opinion. Some people still saw her as Britain's savior, the strong leader who fixed a weak and struggling country. Others still blamed her for creating a more divided society, where the gap between rich and poor grew wider. When she died in 2013, she was given a ceremonial funeral with full military honors. This kind of funeral is very rare and showed how huge her impact was on Britain's history. Whether people loved her or hated her, everyone agreed she had changed the country forever. Love her or hate her, Margaret Thatcher's story is a reminder that strong leadership can change a country's path forever, but always comes at a cost. What do you think? Was she a hero, a villain, or something in between? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more history deep dives, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.